Money. We all chase it, talk about it, dream of it. But what if I told you that most of what you believe about money is wrong? It's not just coins and bills, it's a hidden force. It reveals what you truly value, what makes you nervous, how you make your moves, and in the most dangerous way, who silently holds your reins. Everyone wants it, most run after it endlessly, but very few truly see its real face. We give it nice names like currency, a good life, freedom, but Machiavelli didn't see it through such soft eyes. For him, money was never the end goal. It was a clear sign of influence, a tool of pure leverage. And he warned, if you don't understand how wealth is used to control, to throw people off track, and to expose their deepest truths, you will be owned by it, even if you think you're completely free. Here's the harsh, honest truth. Most people aren't truly chasing money for power. They're chasing a comforting story, a bright illusion that money will magically make them powerful. But Machiavelli, with his sharp mind, saw right through that trick. He didn't desire riches for a soft bed or easy meals. He cared about how money could subtly steer people, change their minds, and bend their will, without ever needing a single threat or a loud command. So let's pull back the curtain and uncover the first deep lesson Machiavelli would teach you. Not just how to get money, but how money subtly shapes people's actions and their lives. If these hidden truths are making you think differently, if you're ready to master this game of money, then don't miss the next step. Subscribe now to unlock more of Machiavelli's secrets. Lesson 1. The Mirror of Gold. You've seen this play out many times. Someone gets a big pay raise, wins a lottery, or their business suddenly gets a huge boost. And almost overnight, they start acting differently. Louder, more showy, maybe overly confident. They believe this new money has made them a better, stronger person. But look closer, through Machiavelli's sharp lens. The truly powerful, the truly secure people rarely change their core being. Only the weak ones do. Because money doesn't build good character. It acts like a giant, clear mirror, reflecting the character that was already there, hidden underneath. The person who was always a coward will now hide behind fancy cars. The person who was always a manipulator will suddenly be generous, but only when it clearly benefits them. And the fool? He will spend every coin trying desperately to look smart, instead of actually being smart. So the first Machiavellian truth is this: don't chase money to feel strong or important. Instead, relentlessly pursue strong self-discipline, build clever strategies, and forge an unshakable reputation. Let money simply be the natural result, the clear proof of those core strengths, not the shaky ground on which you build your identity. Otherwise, you might become very rich, but still deeply insecure. And there is nothing sadder than a wealthy person who walks into a room and commands nothing but polite nods. Machiavelli watched powerful kings fall, not because they ran out of gold, but because they mistakenly believed that their gold made them completely untouchable, beyond any reach of consequence. Real power? That's when people instinctively adjust their behavior, their tone, their very plans, before you even need to say a word. Not because of your bank account, but because of the sheer weight of your presence, your quiet, undeniable authority. Lesson 2. Building in the shadows. We live in a world where everyone is constantly showing off something. Expensive watches, fast cars, pictures of huge bank statements. Some even proudly display their exact net worth, as if it's a personal badge of honor. Machiavelli would have found this behavior incredibly amusing, even foolish. Because when you openly show people everything you have, they immediately start planning. They start figuring out how to take it, how to lessen your share, or how to separate you from it. He deeply believed in a strategic principle that most people completely overlook: the power of keeping things hidden. True, lasting power lies in what people cannot see, cannot easily measure, cannot fully understand. When your displayed wealth speaks louder than your carefully built strategy, you've already given away a huge advantage. You've drawn a bright, glowing target on your back for every envious eye and every opportunistic hand. So what's the smart move? The Machiavellian individual builds their true empire in profound silence. He grows his influence in the shadows, unseen by most. He actively lets the world assume he's slightly less wealthy, slightly less powerful, slightly less influential than he truly is. Why? Because no one directly attacks what they consistently underestimate. There's nothing more dangerous, more unsettling, than a person whose true power, whose full capabilities, you simply cannot calculate or predict. Let people guess. Let them doubt. Let them think you're barely getting by while you are, in reality, completely in control, building something immense. That's how you skillfully move under the radar, unseen and unheard. That's how you strike with decisive impact, without warning. That's how real, lasting empires are built, in profound strategic silence. The less they know about your true strength, the more they will respect your undeniable results and subtly fear your unknown potential. Lesson 3. The chains of dependency. This is where most people unknowingly get caught in a trap. They mistakenly believe that if they are earning a good income, they are automatically winning the game of freedom. But simply earning isn't the same as truly owning. If your money, your chosen lifestyle, your sense of security, your very peace of mind can be frozen, heavily taxed, easily seized, changed, or simply stopped by someone else's decision, be it a government, a boss, a market trend, or a social media platform, then you don't truly own wealth, you're merely renting it. And Machiavelli feared one thing more deeply than poverty: being dependent on others. If your chosen way of life, your feeling of safety, your inner peace relies entirely on someone else's approval, a constant stream of likes or positive comments, or the stability of a platform you don't control, you're not genuinely free. You're merely well-decorated, superficially comfortable, but still, at your core, a prisoner. And the one who ultimately feeds you, inevitably owns you. So ask yourself this critical question: could one single phone call, one market crash, one unexpected policy change completely destroy your income? Is your very survival based on fleeting trends, the applause of strangers, or someone else's platform that can be shut down at any moment? If the honest answer is yes, you're not building true, lasting wealth. You're merely living in a beautifully gilded cage. Machiavelli's solution to this dilemma? Build robust financial fortresses, sources of revenue that survive silence, income streams that no one else fully sees or understands, wealth that doesn't collapse simply because people stop clapping or public attention fades. Because once you subtly make others financially dependent on you, once your structure becomes essential to their well-being, you don't need to control them with threats or direct commands. You just exist, and they will instinctively censor themselves. They'll apologize for perceived missteps before you even raise an eyebrow. They'll obey your subtle cues and call it compromise, when it's actually quiet submission to your silent power. That's not power built on fear or fleeting fame. That's gravity, economic gravity. And when people orbit around you, not because you beg for their attention, but because your financial and resource structure subtly pulls them in, that's real wealth. Not mere dollars, not just digital figures. Influence. Deep, lasting influence. And if you don't meticulously build that, you'll spend your life unknowingly making money for someone else, believing you're safe while someone else truly holds the key to your entire future. So don't just chase income. Build true independence. Not the kind you post loudly online for all to see. The kind nobody truly sees, but everyone feels its effect. The kind nobody can take away from you, because when you've mastered that, you don't have to consciously look powerful. You'll feel it deep within your core. Every time you calmly walk away from a bad deal without a hint of fear. Every time you say no without flinching. Every time people around you realize you're the only one in the room who genuinely doesn't need anything from anyone. That's how money really works as a tool of power. Not through loud display, not through desperate obsession, but through quiet, relentless, self-sustaining structure. Lesson 4. The Crucible of Trust. People often speak many kind words. They love you. They truly believe in you. They would never betray you. And then, you introduce the element of money, and suddenly, the raw truth of those claims shows up, stark and undeniable. Because money, in its purest form, forces choices. It creates powerful temptations, difficult trade-offs, and intense pressure. Give someone control over your income, your financial well-being, and watch how quickly their loyalty transforms into leverage over you. Offer a carefully placed bribe and observe how fast their stated values bend and break. Or worse, simply watch what happens when you get money and they don't. Your success suddenly becomes suspicious in their eyes. Your progress subtly offends them. They start treating your elevation, your rise, like it's undeniable proof that they've been left behind, diminished. Machiavelli never truly trusted people who only applauded when he was struggling or vulnerable. He paid close attention to how they behaved when wealth, when opportunity, walked into the room. Did they genuinely cheer for his success, or did they subtly compare themselves, feeling resentment? Because money doesn't change people's core being. It acts as a powerful revealer, exposing what they were always, perhaps unknowingly, pretending not to be. So what was Machiavelli's strategy? He tested people. Quietly, subtly, without fanfare. He might offer a small role, a strategic resource, a fleeting moment of advantage. Not primarily to help them, but to observe their reactions, to gather data. How do they handle this access? Do they become arrogant, clingy, entitled? If so, he'd subtly vanish, carefully distance himself, withdraw his favor. This is the art of strategic generosity. Not giving purely out of kindness, but using money and opportunity as a precise filter for character. Because not everyone deserves to be near your fire, near your source of warmth and light. Some people only show loyalty when they're cold and in need. Once they're warm, once they've benefited, they quickly forget who lit the flame for them. So you don't have to hide your money completely. Just watch what happens when people think you have it, or when you share a sliver of it. Their unfiltered reaction is the blueprint. It tells you everything you need to know about their true character and their loyalty. Lesson 5. The Architect of Value. There are truly only two types of people when it comes to money and influence. The ones who frantically chase it, constantly running after every dollar, and the ones who realize everyone else is chasing it, and then cleverly use that universal hunger to steer behavior. You see, the weak are utterly obsessed with simply getting rich, but the strong, they think much bigger. They think about building powerful systems, creating entire ecosystems where others rely on them just to survive or thrive. Machiavelli never idolized money for what it could buy. He studied it for what it could bend, for how it could subtly reshape human will. And here's what he found. The person who controls the distribution of money, the flow of resources, also controls the direction and behavior of everyone who wants it. That's why ancient kings had elaborate courts, distributing favors and positions. That's why feudal lords commanded loyal vassals, providing land and protection. That's why today's powerful billionaires rarely need to argue or fight openly. They simply allocate resources. They control the flow, and people instinctively fall in line, orbiting their power. So if you want real power, stop chasing paychecks like a hungry, desperate dog. Start asking bigger, more strategic questions. How can I become a fundamental source of value for others? What unique skill can I build that makes others genuinely need me? How do I shift from being a mere consumer to the primary architect of value? Because once you control access, once you become the source, the entire game flips. You're no longer at the mercy of opportunity. You are the opportunity. The person who signs the checks doesn't have to beg for anything. The one who owns the table doesn't have to ask for a seat. And the more people rely on you financially, the less you need to lift a finger to influence their behavior. They'll align themselves to your will. They'll subtly shift their tone. They'll play your game. That's the real, unspoken move. Not loudly flexing your income, but cleverly designing inescapable leverage. Building systems so valuable, so essential, that other people naturally orbit around you. And the less they can easily reach or fully understand you, the more magnetic and powerful you become. Machiavelli didn't believe in applause-driven generosity. He believed in carefully calculated patronage. Give, yes, but not for claps or fleeting praise. Give to observe, to subtly test, to see who becomes entitled, who becomes truly loyal, who mistakenly thinks your favor is a permanent, guaranteed thing. Because those subtle patterns, they're pure gold. They tell you precisely who your real allies are, and who's just rehearsing loyalty for the next handout, the next benefit. Lesson 6. The unseen prize. This one is subtle and remarkably ruthless. Machiavelli didn't need to directly dominate you to win. He would simply let you chase the wrong target, distracting you. Let others frantically fight over the salary, the status, the public spotlight. Let them mistakenly believe the raise is the ultimate win, the fancy title is the true trophy, the big check is the crown of power. Meanwhile, he's sitting back, calmly mapping out the entire field, watching their struggles. You see, while they're completely distracted by the shiny, temporary prize, he's quietly building the fundamental system that created that prize in the first place. While they fight intensely for a mere piece, he skillfully positions himself to eventually own the entire pie, the whole ecosystem. That's the profound power of patience, of strategic foresight. Machiavelli knew deeply that money can run out, titles can be taken away, and applause always fades. But dependency? That lasts. Emotional, financial, psychological dependency. That is the long-term power. And the most brilliant part? People will often continue serving you, continue orbiting you, even after their contract ends. Not because they're physically forced to, but because they are inextricably tethered to what you subtly gave them. Comfort, identity, access, a sense of belonging. So while they loudly flex their temporary wins, you stay intensely focused on positioning yourself for ultimate, lasting influence. Let them fight over crumbs. You design the entire kitchen. Let them celebrate their promotions. You strategically own the entire ladder. Let them chase money. You make them chase you, because that's how real empires are built. Not by chasing gold directly, but by skillfully making others believe you are the undeniable source of it. Lesson 7. The thread of unease. Here's something Machiavelli understood better than almost anyone else. People don't primarily work hard for money. They work incredibly hard to avoid losing the comfortable life, the status, the ease that money has already given them. Once someone gets a taste of status, of ease, of public visibility, it quickly becomes an integral part of their identity, their sense of self. Take that away, even slightly, even just the threat of taking it away, and suddenly they're in panic mode. They'll do almost anything to keep it, to avoid going backward. And this, precisely, is the strategic move. You give just enough comfort, just enough ease, enough to stabilize them, to elevate them, to make them feel secure and valued. Then you do something subtle, almost imperceptible. You pull back slightly. You delay a payment by a day. You withdraw your attention from them for a moment. You shift your tone just enough to make them subtly wonder, did I mess up? Am I losing favor? Not full-blown panic, just a tiny seed of uncertainty. Because that tiny lingering fear, that soft sense of discomfort, it makes people self-correct. They become agreeable, cautious, obedient, without even realizing they are being influenced. Machiavelli didn't need to yell, he didn't issue direct threats. He positioned himself. He deeply understood that people, driven by their core fears, will often break themselves to avoid going backwards, to avoid losing what they have gained, not out of simple greed, but out of a primal fear of loss. The fear of losing what they once mistakenly thought they had earned securely. So you don't need to weaponize money directly, like a blunt instrument. You just give someone a new identity, a new level of comfort or status, and then subtly show them how fragile it is, how easily it could vanish. That's not brute force manipulation, that's strategic architecture. It's how ancient empires maintained deep loyalty. Not through constant, overt force, but through carefully granted privilege, through impressive ceremonies, through powerful symbols that quietly whispered, "You belong," until you don't. That whisper alone, that subtle uncertainty, is often enough to shape crucial decisions more powerfully than any direct command ever could. Lesson 8. The Silent Scorecard. Here's the uncomfortable truth about openly flaunting wealth. When you walk into a room and make it clear you're showing off your riches, people aren't genuinely impressed. They're calculating. They're silently measuring you. They're thinking, how much of that is real? What did you overpay for? How hard would it be to replace you or what you have? Machiavelli knew that outward displays of wealth don't attract true admiration from the powerful. It only impresses those who themselves desperately want what you have, those who are easily influenced. The truly strong don't envy you. They coldly study you. They look for cracks in your facade, for excess, for hidden weaknesses cleverly disguised as success. So if your main goal is to look rich instead of move smartly and strategically, you're inviting predators. You're attracting people who will smile at your lifestyle while quietly, methodically preparing to dismantle it, piece by piece. That's why Machiavelli would say, never let the world see how badly you need their validation. Because the second they see you need to be admired, they instantly know how to control you, how to pull your strings. So what's the intelligent move? You don't display wealth. You embody quiet precision. You don't flaunt purchases. You demonstrate profound restraint. You don't loudly show off your assets. You let your strategic silence speak for itself, creating an aura of untouchable power. Because when no one can accurately measure the true size or depth of your empire, no one can effectively plan how to breach its defenses. And that's precisely what makes the quiet, truly rich man so dangerously effective. He doesn't crave fleeting attention. He doesn't care who knows his true worth, and that profound freedom, that's what gives him the ultimate, undeniable edge. Lesson 9. The Unbound Spirit. This is the true turning point, the deep secret of ultimate power. Most people live in constant fear of losing money, because deep down, they have mistakenly fused their very identity to it. Take away their income, their wealth, and they feel like nobodies, their sense of self crumbling. But not the Machiavellian individual. He has built something far rarer, far more resilient. Complete non-attachment to external outcomes. He earns money, he multiplies money, he uses money effectively. But he never becomes money. He never lets his identity merge with his possessions. And that, precisely, is the most terrifying kind of power. Because when you walk into a room and you are the only one who doesn't need anything from anyone, everything instantly changes. You're not chasing deals. You're not clinging to approval. You're not desperate to belong to any group. You can, with calm certainty, walk away, while everyone else is still desperately begging to stay, trapped by their needs. That one fact, that quiet, unshakable truth, It completely flips the entire dynamic of power. People chase you, not because you're rich, but because you're truly free. Even if all your money vanished tomorrow, you'd rebuild it, not from sheer luck, not from making loud noise, but from the same core traits that built it the first time: self-control, immense patience, sharp awareness, and the masterful use of leverage. Machiavelli didn't worship wealth. He wielded it like a surgeon's scalpel, quiet, surgical, focused, unbothered by external opinions, unreachable, untouchable. And that's the ultimate shift, when money stops being your master and, instead, becomes a clear mirror reflecting your inner power. Lesson 10. The conductor of value. Machiavelli never placed his trust in mere appearances. He deeply understood something most people miss entirely. Real power doesn't truly belong to the one who simply holds the treasure. It belongs to the one who decides where that treasure, where that value actually goes. And in today's complex world, that profound truth still stands. You can accumulate vast amounts of money and still be fundamentally powerless. You can be incredibly wealthy and still be easily replaceable. But if you control the distribution of value, the flow of resources, then attention naturally bends toward you. Behavior instinctively aligns around you, not because people admire you in particular, but because they genuinely need you, they rely on you. That's what real strategic positioning looks like. You don't want to be merely the richest person in the room. You want to be the one who signs the checks, the one who sets the budgets, the one who decides where the spotlight lands, who gets the opportunities. Machiavelli understood this unbreakable law of influence. People obey not primarily because of love, but because of dependence. The truly powerful don't need to yell. They don't threaten. They just pause, and the entire room changes its dynamic. Their silence becomes intense pressure. Their absence becomes a form of subtle punishment. Their simple nod becomes undeniable approval. That's why ancient kings didn't just collect gold. They meticulously built vast systems of dependencies. They didn't need an army of worshippers. They needed people who simply couldn't afford to offend them. People whose well-being was tied to the king's favor. So don't just aim to earn more money. Aim to become the source of value, the fundamental point of distribution. And once you're seen as the undeniable source of wealth, of opportunity, of influence, you don't even have to remind people of it. The inherent uncertainty of being cut off is enough. When people don't know how they'll survive or thrive without you, they'll do everything they can to stay close, to stay connected, to keep benefiting from what they can't fully explain or replicate. That's how you become truly untouchable, not just rich, but mythic in your influence. You've now peered behind the curtain of wealth and power. You've seen that money isn't just a goal, but a complex tool that reveals character, tests loyalty, and builds control. You've learned Machiavelli's powerful lessons: to see money as leverage, to build in silence, to avoid dependence, to test loyalty, to become a source of value, and to achieve unshakable inner freedom. This isn't about becoming cold or cruel. It's about becoming strategic, disciplined, and utterly self-reliant. It's about understanding the hidden mechanics of human motivation so you can navigate the world with mastery rather than being tossed about by its currents. If this video has changed how you view money and influence, if it has armed you with a new, sharper vision, then hit that like button. Share this crucial message with someone who needs to see these truths. And most importantly, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell. Join us to keep unlocking the secrets of true, lasting power. Your future self, the one who truly commands their destiny through wisdom and strategy, is waiting. Remember, in a world obsessed with superficial wealth, The person who understands the flow of money, rather than just its accumulation, holds all the keys to their own fate.